The wounded masculine is all over the feminist movement, or the extreme feminist movement. I love men. So extreme feminists out there who are pushing for matriarchy, just listen to my truth, okay? You don't have to take it, but just listen. Wild beings, welcome to Goddess Activation YouTube channel. You are most welcome. Come into my portal. Let's have a conversation. This one's going to be triggering. Let's go. So the cheapest and easiest way to create a sense of unity in a group and to create a sense of power and control in a group is by creating separateness with the other, is by demonizing and hating the other. So by this bond, often some groups, let's say women who hate men, some of the women, let's say they're coming together and their bond is through the energy of hatred. They hate men. Well, this is not a very sustainable way to bond. The most sustainable way is love. With this bond within that little group of that hatred, this is not going to help your agenda, and this is not going to help heal the world. This is not going to help women's equality. This is not going to help women's representation. This is not going to help the problem that 1 in 3 women are abused on the planet. It's only going to cause more destruction, more abuse, just more shit hitting the fan. Hear me out. So right now, the masculine is going through a huge shift as we're seeing embodied feminine rising more on the planet. We are seeing the wounded masculine coming up and being faced with this necessity of being worked through, being healed. And so we're seeing a lot of men maybe break apart from their relationships because they're needing that freedom, that independence. They're needing to go back to self. Or we're seeing relationship dynamics where the masculine in the woman being is coming alive. A lot of people who have father wounds, that is absolutely rising to the surface. I am here also in that journey with y'all. So right now, the masculine needs to be looked at within all of us. It's not just the men, okay? And so any beings out there who are just gonna sit there and hate men, this is doing a disservice to the planet. You need to look at your own inner masculine if you are sitting there in that sense of feeling hatred towards men. That is the invitation of what's going on in here. What is going on with my masculine wounding, with my father wounding, anything in that territory. Shadow work needs to be done. Let's back up, okay? Imagine in the most perfect world that we're all holding hands in a circle, okay? Everybody is equal. And we're holding the hands in the circle and we're together and we're singing, we're having a good time. And then the women are needed some attention, some representation. So we step into that circle. And then all the other beings are surrounding that circle, holding the hands. And us women, we're in that center of the circle, we're holding hands. And then even imagine then those of color, the women of color go inside in a smaller circle and then they're holding hands, so they have that representation too. Imagine that our circle, our women's circle, and then the women of color circle is coming from a space of love because we're not hating the men. And how beautiful that is to have a sense of support, safety, and security from those men holding us so that we can rise in our representation rather than fall. And I know that sounds like a perfect world, but how can we actually make that a reality? The answer is that us women, we need to be the leaders. And we need to show leadership by love and not by hate. We have been ruled by the wounded masculine, by the dark father for far too long. And this sense of hating to create separateness comes from the space of wanting to be in control, and that's coming from a place of the wounded masculine. So the wounded masculine is all over the feminist movement, or the extreme feminist movement, let's say, not the you know, all of us. Of course, I'm a feminist in my own way. The wounded masculine is all over it. The dark father is all over it. Because it's the wounded masculine in us that is screaming, I need control. I need to be the leader. I need my rights. I need this. That's not the feminine. And our feminine cannot surrender to this wounded masculine. Fair enough. We have 1 in 3 women abused in the world, okay? Fair enough. I see what the world looks like. I know. And our feminine cannot surrender to even our own wounded masculine. So this is where the work needs to be done, but it cannot be done through hate. Yes, create safe containers for yourself to express that rage, to express that anger. Absolutely. I do that with my clients. I am all about expressing the anger and rage. I am not about repressing. I am not about ignoring. Okay? I have also had sexual harassment. Okay? It's not about repressing that shit. Absolutely not. And this conversation is also not giving a free pass to you men out there who are super against the feminist. This is not a free pass for you either. This isn't saying you can just sit on the couch and not do anything. You also have to work both on your wounded masculine and on your feminine reclamation, because we all do. We all do. If we want to sit in that circle and all hold hands together and sing in joy, and we want everybody to have their proper representation, then this is what we all need to do. So obviously we can't expect everybody to rise into their power. We can't even expect 1% of us. But by you doing that, helps the collective. By you doing that, changes the world. By you shifting your perspective on I hate men to I accept men, I accept where they are at, I can have compassion, doesn't mean it was right, doesn't mean that the harassment and abuse I received was okay, but I can accept it and I can rise above it and I can do the work that's necessary to change the dynamic on this planet. Now, this conversation goes a lot deeper than the 5 or so minutes I've been speaking. I know this is very complicated. I know this is very complex, but the worst thing you can do for your feminine and for the wounded masculine is to stay in that victim mode. Of course, in safer containers, express it, and it's very, very fair to move through that victim. Like, you were the victim if you were one of the women I'm speaking to that has been harassed. Absolutely. I also have been there. But I'm not going to stay in that victim, because that's not helping the world. That's keeping the wounded masculine in power. And going and turning against the masculine and causing war is keeping the wounded masculine in power, because that's the wounded masculine in me. That's wanting to cause that war. So the feminine works differently. The feminine, she has rage. And part of the dark goddesses, yeah, they want to rip things apart. They want to destruct. And absolutely, the system needs some destroying. There needs to be some destruction, because the way it has been is not working. But we have to approach this differently. We have to let the feminine oracle in us lead. We have to do that feminine reclamation work, and we gotta start working with our masculine. We gotta start letting the leader inside of ourselves, the healed leader, lead this by listening to the feminine oracle, to the intuition in us. So there are a lot of practices out there. There are a lot of things you can do. And of course, this video is just the philosophy of it all. But I hope that this activates something in you, that this sparks something in you and gets you to think a bit more, because the thinking and reflecting is already where the healing begins of this world. So my recommendation is shadow fucking work into your masculine, shamanic journeys, deep dive into the masculine, into the feminine, and learn to shift your perspective, begin to see the other, begin to see these men for what they've done and have some compassion. Try to find that compassion, try to have understanding, try to look at things in a bird's eye view. Doesn't mean that you need to step over your own boundaries, doesn't mean that you need to give over your values. That doesn't mean that. You gotta stay in your value, you gotta stay with your boundaries and not take any bullshit, okay? I'm not saying being fucking passive and submissive in this shit. Hell no. But you can have those boundaries from a space of love, not a space of hate. You can have that I know my value from a space of love rather than a space of fear and a space of fuck you. And that is a much more sustainable space to be in. That is a much more true, authentic, highly charged, highly vibrational space to be in. So it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to be able to accept the other and have compassion for where they were at. And it takes a lot of work to be able to see how maybe what they've done was meant to be. But you can do it. And that's getting closer to the divine. That's getting closer to the Holy Mother, the Holy Father. That's getting closer to your soul, to yourself. So this might be a very triggering conversation. Leave in the comments whatever you want. Let's talk about it. Like, let's have the hard conversations. I'm here for it. But let's not project. Let's not use hatred towards the other. How can we come in this space, in this container, to express how we feel in support for everybody's truth? That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm holding space for. So I'll hold space for you. Whatever your truth is, leave it down. Let's do it, because this is the work that's needed to get back in that space where we're all holding hands. And I want to be there. Much love, brothers, sisters, Acers.